Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty crazy news when it comes to Xbox, where Xbox themselves might even now be considering completely leaving the entire UK. Now, there's going to be some pretty big drama because as you guys do not know, it's going to be a big back and forth when it comes to the CMA and the big legal process. And of course, well, the big acquisition that's still been kind of in this weird, awkward limbo. So going to talk about that, talk about some details, talk about the kind of a crazy fan thing as well. We'll maybe do that one first before we get into the big legalities, and well, just some kind of crazy stuff when it comes to the upcoming Xbox conference and everything else. So you guys are going to have a fantastic, lovely weekend. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We got that Twitter and Twitch room down below. Be hanging out on Twitch. You guys are bored, so if you guys want to say hi. Of course, we got the Amazon links too as well down below, and let's dive into the video. So very first and foremost, some crazy stuff coming from over here, Aaron Greenberg, before we get to the big UK news, is that people are now trying to find any baby bit of, well, intention and notion, everything else in between when it comes to upcoming game leaks. Now with this, we've actually now been seeing even more news, and people just basically trying to look for anything they possibly can. Now this one's an intriguing one because Aaron Greenberg actually posted out a random Instagram photo over here, which a lot of folks, as you guys have maybe seen, there's a big rumor that Xbox official account tweeted out these little fairy dust things and had music of Fable music and all this type of stuff. And with the Xbox conference coming out next week, a lot of folks are waiting and speculating to see what the next big major games might be. So a lot of folks obviously were assuming Fable. Now this one's even more crazy because as you guys can see over here, this is over here from apparently in the Microsoft food court where there's a big Able. Right over here. Now, obviously just a nice little normal casual selfie from everyone going to work and people doing stuff in the background or whatever, but a lot of folks are like, yo, what is going on here? Because we see the Able, aka Fable, and basically the entire internet was going up in storm. Which, funny enough, we even had a response over saying, hey, no, this is just the cafeteria restaurant at the Microsoft office, because people are grasping at straws, although, rightfully so, there's been a lot of teasers and leaks saying correct, and I have not teased anything, but for our fans to be surprised when they watch live. But it does feel like right now, if I sneeze, someone will say X game confirmed. Love you all in the passion. Keep it coming as we're about a week away. Which, in all honesty, for a response that has 90,000, notifications, notices or whatever, it'll probably get a lot more as time goes on. It was probably the most boomer thing I've ever said for views, but whatever. All around kind of funny things either way. Now to get more into the actual proper video is that we're now seeing some pretty crazy news. Now, this was actually talked about earlier on today from Bloomberg, where Activision and Microsoft are actually considering dramatic solutions in order to make this merge happen, including having Activision completely potentially pull out of the UK, and right now this is where things are heating up pretty big, because not typically do we see countries trying to go and pull out of millions upon millions of people in markets, especially a pretty strong market such as the UK. Although if you guys have compared, say, the Xbox Series X and S sales, they have not been too strong, even in the UK and overall Europe itself, and as well just kind of crazy that we actually could maybe have a whole country not even allowed to have Xbox games. So Microsoft and Activision may be ready to take drastic measures in order to merge and become one of the biggest powerhouses in the video game industry. Microsoft is currently looking at ways to carry on with its $68.7 billion Activision merger without the United Kingdom's approval. The Megaton merger was blocked by the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, and with the merger's July 24th deadline fastly approaching, it's possible now that Microsoft and Activision could close over and actually might just go with the merger despite the CMA not approving. There are already plans underway to close the deal in the United States despite the FTC's current administration lawsuit. The FTC would need an injunction from a federal court in order to get the merger blocked. It's going to be challenging as the merger has already been approved in the European Union for similar reasons as the FTC's anti-competitive objections. So, the idea behind this is that basically it's already been approved in, number one, many different other countries. So a lot of countries are like, yeah, this is fine. If you guys want to run business in our country, you'll probably make more money. You'll probably get more jobs. You put it in Brazil, you put it in Poland, Germany, whatever. You'll probably go make more money. They just want to have Microsoft here. Microsoft's a really big American corporation. Online gaming is huge. Online stuff like Game Pass is huge. It keeps people in the house. It keeps people safe. Gives people a nice product. It kind of brings people up to the 21st century if they're not too focused on gaming. It's cool. People in most countries would like this. It brings more money to the economy. And obviously the UK is a little bit sketchy in terms of the cloud hosting and everything else with that. And that's where we're kind of in this awkward limbo because the European Union's okay with it. UK is not. So in theory, it's almost one of those maybe call those bluffs where If you're Microsoft with everything else approves, it's kind of like when you have like 8 of your friends and you always want to go to Six Flags or Disney or whatever. You guys want to go get Denny's. I don't know. And then you have that one friend who's like, no, I don't want to go to Denny's. I don't want to go to Six Flags. I don't want to go to, Disney, whatever. So at that point, just say, okay, we'll just leave without you, whatever, that's fine, and just go walk out the door. And sometimes they don't want to be left behind, and this might be the idea that they might be thinking. They might just say, like, whatever, Jimbo, if you want to come, you can come, but if not, well, whatever, we don't have to deal with you. There's another 6 billion other people on the planet we could focus on in the future. You have fun by yourself. And it's kind of, I think, where they're trying to maybe push as of right this second. So basically, data indicates that Activision Blizzard King generated around $828 million in revenues from the United Kingdom in 2022. So it is a big deal. Like $1 billion is something you don't want to scuff at, but at the same time, if you're also dropping 70 billion, it would still take over what, like 75 years or so to even recoup that loss just from that alone. Like, it's like you can kind of justify it, and I'm sure over time as well, if it's 10, 15 years, it might just be worth it to eat the cost, and you can still probably run Microsoft and Activision there, and in theory, if you still own Activision, you can still make money and profits, just maybe not have it underneath like Game Pass deals, or as well, you can still maintain Xbox business there. It's like one of those like really weird things where it's just, there's like, this is why these lawyers are going to pay a lot of money, because there's just so many small convoluted issues involved in how that would potentially work. Essentially, the mergers overall are working everywhere else on the entire planet, which is why, once again, they might just say whatever and commit to it, because if they can get almost every single other country on the planet, why not? Why not? Just kind of revisit it in 10 years or so. So Activision would have to make this kind of deal itself. We need to be prepared for any potential revenue hits and policy changes throughout the business too as well. Bloomberg reports that Microsoft's president Brad Smith plans to meet with the UK regulators at the Competition and Markets Authority to discuss the merger. While in the UK, Smith is also expected to visit a Treasury head Chancellor Jeremy Hunt to discuss the deal. As per Reuters, UK Chancellor Hunt has recently spoken about the merger in a conference. One of the reasons that companies like Microsoft and Google want to invest in the UK is because we have independent regulators that aren't controlled by politicians. I would not want to undermine that at all, but I do think it's important that all of our regulators understand their wider responsibilities for economic growth. The report of these dramatic actions comes shortly after Microsoft President Brad Smith asserted that the company was working to find solutions with regulators in order to get the merger passed. And right now we've kind of been seeing a lot of back and forth where they want this to go through. And they have had a little bit of pushback, but also a bit of kind of a give to as well, where they might still be able to go make this push happen and make it work. Fundamentally, we have an acquisition that will bring more competition and more access to games to consumers on a global basis. That's why we now have approval from almost 40 different countries with more than 2 billion people for this to proceed. That's why I'm saying they may just want to say, whatever, we're going to go through it. Who kind of really cares at the end of the day, because we have 2 billion other audiences and probably more. And on top of that, too, we can focus on other smaller countries like a Brazil or an India or a China or Japan, Korea, and other regions that we haven't really put too much attention into. And we can expand to these countries the next 10 years and then revisit the UK deal, because I think there is a 10-year legal lock between all those deals. There are some regulators that have expressed concerns, and we get it. We want to address those concerns. I'm encouraged that we'll be able to have a solution for the European Union that lets the acquisition go forward with guardrails to ensure that everyone gets access to these games for all kind of cloud game streaming services and not Microsoft just alone. As also then basically saying we can give a licensing deal to a PlayStation or like a Google Stadia, which I know is gone, but just example, like Amazon Luna, Ubisoft Plus, or whatever type of Netflix streaming services, and maybe have them also have a chance to go and, basically have these games like Call of Duty or Diablo or whatever if they're on Game Pass, so it's not a pure monopoly. Or as well, make sure you can still buy the games on, say, PlayStation stores or on Nintendo or on Steam or on EA or whatever it might be to keep on inhibiting growth in the gaming universe. So say now, obviously, we have not yet succeeded in addressing every concern of every regulator, but at the end of the day, you have to decide. Do you want to find a solution to every problem, or do you want to find a problem with every solution? Which is kind of like, hey, we'll give you guys 10 years. No. Well, then what about 15 years? No. What about 20? No. So then what do we want us to do to fix it? We don't know. And that's where probably Xbox is getting a little bit more on the frustrated side, because they just want this deal to go through because a lot of folks are with it. I still think it's good to discuss at the end of the day because it's not really stopping or hindering anything. Games are still being released. Xbox is still doing stuff, etc., but it's a pretty big deal nonetheless. We are focused on finding a solution to every problem because I believe solutions are there. You can count on us to want to be creative, to want to be constructive, and frankly, to be determined to keep working to find a solution that will get the good out of this and then make those benefit everyone available. So, I don't know, kind of cool. It's kind of a weird thing because it does seem like Xbox might just say, whatever. This is our power play. We're just going to commit and do whatever either way, and I want to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Do you really care? Do you not care? Let me know in the comment section as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed, notifications down below, Twitter and Twitch if you guys are bored and want to hang out and chill, and of course all the Amazon link for the consoles, and I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.